Hey guys, Paul here with Late Night Games. It is the 28th of April, third last day of the VEDA challenge, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about video games and whether or not they're sports or should ever be included in the Olympics. Now, the reason this comes up is because prior to recording this vlog, I've been watching off and on the championship matches for League of Legends, which is an esport. Now, there are some people who say esports are just as valid of a sport as any other sport, like baseball or soccer, and some people who think that's preposterous. It's just kids playing video games, and who cares if people call it a sport, because it's not. So here's just my thought on it. It's not necessarily the right one, but it's just mine. As you can tell by the bluey of the face, it is once again nighttime, so it is kind of dark out. It's about, 8:30 p.m. at this point. It's been a busy weekend, so I haven't been able to get the vlogs up as quickly as I wanted to. However, right on the topic now. So, in my opinion, are video games sports? Well, first let's look at what a sport is. A sport is a game. Video games are games. Sports are games. So we got one check that sports and games both have. They are both games. It is a game, usually involving teams, where where people compete to perform a task with a high level of skill greater than someone else performs a task with a high level skill under a set constraint of rules and regulations, potentially with spectators, potentially not. That's just spectator sports or not. So, are esports sports? Well, let's look at, are there teams involved? There can be. There are lots of video games that are team-based combat. Take the one I was just watching, League of Legends. Or the first esport type game I remember, the Counter-Strike. I remember Counter-Strike, I don't know if it still goes on, but at one point had a competitive league going on. We used to have Counter-Strike tournaments at the local video arcade where I used to live. Well, where I do live, there used to be a video arcade. It has since shut down and become an ice cream shop. A delicious ice cream shop, but nowhere near as wonderful as the arcade once was. Oh, I remember playing DDR for hours on end back then. Those were the days. Anyways, so yes, video games do have that competitive nature. They have a set of skills that you need to have. I mean, it's not easy to stare at a screen for up to an hour at a time with constant vigilant focus, watching every character's movement, paying attention to every little detail, redevising your strategy on the fly to be able to change the pattern of your behavior and the pattern of your movements to counteract the enemy who is also doing the same thing, and your opponent is constantly trying to score on you while you are trying to score on them, constantly pushing back and forth against each other, fighting for dominance within a set area or arena. That sounds a lot like a game of hockey or soccer to me. Now, granted, video games don't require the same level of physical conditioning that most sports do. Take baseball, for example. I mean, you don't have to swing a bat to be able to strike a ball that's flying through the air at 100 miles an hour. But you do need to be able to make minute adjustments with your mouse to target almost perfectly, while at the same time have the hand-eye coordination to control all the keys on your keyboard that you require, or any other peripherals you use. You have to pay attention to sound cues, and pay attention to visual cues. Keep in mind time limits. I mean, there are some people that compete in League of Legends that know in their mind how long it takes for Dragon to come back, so as soon as Dragon dies, they're constantly paying attention. They're like, alright, Dragon died at 8 minutes and 21 seconds. We've got X number of minutes left until it'll appear. We'll make sure we're there within the seconds it arrives. And as soon as it spawns, they're already on top of it. Which is just ridiculous. I mean, granted, they may be using items such as sight wards or other mechanics within the game to find it quicker, but still, that's ridiculous and amazing. So, there is a lot of concentration and mental conditioning that's required for video games, but there is also that physical hand-eye coordination. It is a very strenuous task. Even just sitting in a chair for that long while you're working on it can cause repercussions to the human body. Don't believe me that sitting in a chair can have physical strain? Well, what's another big sport that's really popular, especially in the southern US, that requires no movement, just sitting in a chair and making minute changes while under a lot of force? Race car driving. You go to anyone who's a NASCAR fan and tell them race car driving ain't a sport, they're going to tie you to the back of their pickup and drag you along, or whatever vehicle they have. They don't necessarily have a pickup, but, like, it is a sport. It is competitive. It is action and intense, and it requires very keen reflexes, and it requires amazing amounts of hand-eye coordination and awareness, and you're undergoing a lot of physical strain. So, in my opinion, yes, video games are a sport. But that brings me to the second part of the question. Should they ever be eligible for the Olympics? I say no. And there is a reason I say no. To me, the Olympics is not just competitive sports to find who is the best at sports in the world. I don't think there's golf in the Olympics. And if there is, someone's more than free to correct me. I know that race car driving will probably never be in the Olympics. And the reason why is, if you think of the word Olympic, you think of the World Games. But if you think of other words with the same root, such as Olympian or Olympus, well, the Olympian image, or Mount Olympus, remind me of the old Greek image of what it was to be an Olympian, what it was to be the model specimen of human form. Now, I'm not saying for beauty, because beauty comes in all shapes, but I'm saying for, like, physical conditioning for the human body, there are peaks and there are limits that we're constantly breaking and pushing past, and eventually I think we'll hit a ceiling. But the Olympics, to me, is a showcase of the human body and what it can do, what you can push it to do, what limits you can push it at, and then perfect. Gymnastics is almost the perfection in human movement. And then if you think of things like the hammer throw and the javelin throw, these are human bodies propelling large objects remarkable distances with nothing more than the power of the human frame, their muscles, their bones, their joints, and using their bodies as the fulcrum. In the Olympics, the human body is the machine. Now, I'm sure there's some Olympic events that I'm not thinking of at the moment that don't necessarily follow this rule, but to me, those aren't necessarily Olympic events. To me, what makes the Olympics what they are is that true journey to find who is the greatest at using the human engine for what it does. Now, I know that there's hockey in the Olympics, and being Canadian, if I were to say that that doesn't belong in the Olympics, half my neighbors would shank me. But I think Olympics, I think more swimming, speed swimming, synchronized swimming, gymnastics, 100-meter dash, hammer throw, javelin throw, high jump, long jump. The track events that push the body to its limits. Not necessarily with teamwork, but with just pushing a single person to a higher level. With the team aspect of hockey, no single player is the peak of human perfection. They, as a team, work coherently and are the world's greatest and most intense. But I think that should just be for a World League of Hockey, not necessarily for the Olympics. Just my opinion, though. Everyone's got their own. And I'm interested to hear yours. Do you guys think that video games should be classified as a sport? Do you think they should be included in the Olympics at any point? Let me know what you think down below in the comment section, or you can message me on Facebook or Twitter, or you can leave me a comment, video response to this video as well. Let me know what you think. Also, just wanted to give a shout out to Blamilton. Welcome to the vlogging world. It was nice to finally put a face to that majestic voice of yours. And I'm looking forward to seeing lots of good content and seeing how that kilt goes. Great job on it so far. But for everyone else, thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow. See you next time. Take care now.